Myself, Khan Nazira Banu Iqbal. I'm from Powai Municipal English Secondary School. Today, I'm going to take your history subject lecture, and in that, I'm going to start with historiography and Indian tradition. Or you can say that historiography in Indian tradition. Okay, children, so all of you, please kindly mute your mic and I want your great sake of attention. Now, to begin with, I'm starting with historiography. Now, as you can see, historiography. Now, this historiography has, the word has already been introduced in the previous chapter, but before starting my second chapter, I want to give a little introduction about the historiography. Now, in the first chapter, as you all know that historiography related to West has been, you might have learned. But in this particular chapter, you are going to study historiography in relation with Indian continent or with relation with Indian tradition. Now, before starting, we'll start with the definition of history, or we can say the meaning of historiography. The writing of critical historical narrative is known as historiography. Scholars who write such narrative historians are known as historians. Okay, now critical. The word critical means that means whatever events has been done in the past, writing of those events in a sequence or uh, in a way that it came in the form of a book or a particular magazine or in a particular gazette, that is known as, or whoever is writing is known as historian. Now, critical writing. Now, whenever the historian is writing something, he always analyze those facts. Now, by analyzing those facts, he comes to the conclusion, and in that particular conclusion is known as, that particular process is known as historiography. It means जो भी फैक्ट्स उसको पता है वो उसके बारे में एनालाइज करेगा, वो पता करेगा कि वो फैक्ट सही है, वो इवेंट सही है, through the different sources. Okay, there are different sources. There are oral sources, there are written sources, then there are archaeological sources, material sources, concrete sources, abstract sources. So there are different sources. Historian, that particular historian, whoever is writing the history, whatever what he will do, he will analyze all those facts. कि हाँ ये fact हुआ था, ठीक है. So this is the truth. Whatever nearer to the fact, he will write in that particular book, and that particular person or that particular man is known as historian. Okay, now in another term we can say that if we go through the definition of historiography, Pure and Talbores in the year 1988 defined historiography as the study of the way history has been and is written. The history of historical writing. When you study historiography, you do not study the event of the past directly, but the changing interpretation of those events in the work of individual historians. As have you told you, that particular person or the particular historian, whatever the facts will be there, whatever events are there, he will go through all those events, and what he will do, he will just analyze those facts. He will just collect the information. He will think whether that particular event is true or false, or whatever events, what are the causes of those events, what are the effects of those particular events. He will analyze, वो check करेगा उसको बार बार, एक बार नहीं. There are different methods. In those methods you might have learned in your first chapter, that there are different methods. There are trial and error method. He will go in the trial session, then he will think, no, this is not the right thing. So it might be that this be thing, or it can be that thing. So he will analyze those facts, and when he will come to the conclusion, he will jot it down or he will make a note of those, and that particular person is known as historian. So historiography is nothing but, children, historiography is writing of the history. हिस्टोग्राफी क्या है? हिस्ट्री लिखने के तरीके को हमने क्या किया है, हिस्टोग्राफी हम कह सकते हैं. इसको सिंपल लैंग्वेज में आपको मैं एक्सप्लेन करके बता रही हूँ. उसके बाद चिल्ड्रन, बिफोर going in depth about this particular chapter, in this particular chapter you are going to study in this chapter is particularly in two parts. First part is historiography in relation with medieval history, historiography in relation with ancient history, historiography in relation with modern history. Okay, So there are mainly three types of history is there. First one is ancient history, then second one is medieval history, and third one is modern history. Now, first one is ancient history. Now, children, as you all know, right from the beginning, one of the oldest history is ancient history. जो सबसे ज़्यादा पुरानी history है हमारी, that is ancient history. Okay. Now, that particular ancient history, right from the Stone Age man. Okay. Then we have Harappan civilization. Then we have folk tales. Then we have the Ashoka period. Then all the Chalukya dynasty, Maurya dynasty. Then Ramayana, Mahabharata. All these will come in Buddhist period, Jain period, Vedic literature. All this will come in ancient history. I'm just giving an example. Then what will come in ancient history? जो सबसे ज़्यादा हमारी पुरानी history है, वो कहलाती है हमारी ancient history. उसमें क्या आएगा? From Stone Age man, then you can have Harappa civilization, all the Mesopotamian civilization, Egypt civilization, Greek civilization, all this will come, all this we will study in ancient history. Okay, and apart from that, with related to India, what you will study, you will study Harappa civilization. Similarly, you will study Ashoka period, you will study Maurya period. Similarly, Ramayana, Mahabharata, uh, uh, Harsha Charitra, Harsha Charitra by Bana Bhatt, Meghdut by Vishaka Datta. All this you will study in ancient history. Then second type of history is medieval history. In medieval history, mainly you will study about the different. You will study that is related to medieval period. Now, in medieval period, we have French Revolution, we have American War of Independence, we have different inventions that happened in European countries in the um, uh, late 18th century and the beginning of the 19th century. All this will come in medieval history. और इंडिया में इस हिस्ट्री में क्या क्या आएगा चिल्ड्रन? मुगल पीरियड और all the Mughal period will come under this. The reign of Shivaji will come under this in the medieval history in India. Two important is Mughal period and uh, Tales of Shivaji, जो हम पढ़ते हैं. Okay, Shivaji Maharaj. Then again in the third, modern history. Modern history में in the modern world you can study in European countries. You can study about the contemporary world. Similarly, First World War you will study. Then Second World War, Cold War. All this will come in modern history in the world. And with related to India, what will it year income? It will come then First War of Independence, that is 1857. Then we have Indian Independence War. Okay, events of the 1947 Constitution making. All this will come in modern history. Again, the war with India and Pakistan, formation of Bangladesh. All you might have studied these concepts in your 9th standard. So basically, 9th standard study history is modern history. So I hope you might have understand that what are the subsections in ancient history, medieval history, and modern history. Children, being a history student, you should know that these are the three important types of history, and this is the basic knowledge which I am giving you, that in what comes in ancient history, what comes in medieval history, and what comes in modern history. See children, I am repeating again. In ancient history, Stone Age history, पत्थर के जमाने की हिस्ट्री, हड़प्पन सिविलाइजेशन, देन अशोका पीरियड, मौर्य पीरियड, then Ramayana, Mahabharata, Vedic literature, one of the oldest history we have in ancient history. Then medieval में Mughal period and Shivaji period will come, and in modern history, our War of Independence, 1857. Then events after the independence will also come, partition of India and Pakistan. All those events will come in modern history, and I am giving you example with related to Indian continent. Okay. Now moving further. Now, tradition of Indian historiography. Now, how the Indian historiography has been developed, this particular thing you have to study in this particular chapter. Now, we learn about the Western tradition of historiography in the last lesson. In this lesson, we will know about the tradition of Indian historiography. As I told you, children, that हमने जो लास्ट चैप्टर में पढ़ा था, हमने पढ़ा था कि किस तरह से जो है हिस्टोग्राफी ने डेवलप किया है वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज में, अमेरिका में, इंग्लैंड में, फ्रांस में, इटली में. इस पर्टिकुलर चैप्टर में हम लोग आज पढ़ने वाले हैं कि किस तरह से ये तीनों टाइप्स, एंशियंट, मॉडर्न एंड मिडिवल, ये किस तरह से हमने इन तीनों एस्पेक्ट्स को और इन तीनों हिस्ट्री को हमने किस तरह से हमारे इंडियन वे में जो है क्या है लिखा है, और कैसे हमारी एंशियंट में, मिडिवल में और मॉडर्न में किस तरह से हमने हमारे इंडियन इवेंट्स को हमने इसमें कवर किया है. So there are great historians, there are different historians, many historians are there which you will study in the second part of the lesson, but before that you have to study. आपको इस लेसन में पढ़ना है कि किस तरह से हिस्टोग्राफी एंशियंट पीरियड में डेवलप, उसमें हमने क्या लिखा है, हिस्टोग्राफी मिडिवल पीरियड में हमने क्या लिखा है, और हिस्टोग्राफी के मॉडर्न पीरियड में हमने इसको क्या लिखा है. So I hope you might have understood the gist of the lesson. gist आपको समझ में आई होगी, और एक्चुअली वी कैन से द ढांचा आपको लेसन का समझ में आएगा, बिकॉज आई नो दीज टू लेसन आर क्वाइट थियोरेटिकल, और इसके जो कॉन्सेप्ट है वो समझना बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है. नाउ मूविंग फर्दर एंड स्टार्टिंग विद हिस्टोग्राफी इन द एंशियंट पीरियड. In that, I'm starting with the example of Sohagura copper plate. Now, the copper plate was found at Sohagura district, Gorakhpur, Uttar Pradesh. It is supposed to be formed from the Mauryan period. The inscription on it is in the Brahmi script, the symbol known as tree in railing and mountain. At the beginning of the inscription also occurred on punch mark coins. Another symbol which looks like a structure erected on four pillars is supposed to be indicating of a granary. The inscription records a royal order that the grain stored in the granary should be distributed carefully. It is supposed to be suggestive of precaution taken from famine. Now, children, as you all know, that this is the script which you can see on your screen. This is the Brahmi script which you can see on your screen. And this particular plate is found in Uttar Pradesh, and the district name is Gorakhpur. Now, this particular plate is found from the Mauryan period, and this is in the Brahmi script, and there are different symbols. There are different symbols which is erected on this particular plate, and when it has been translated by the archaeologists or the historians, when they have researched on this particular plate, they found that this is an we can say information or guidelines that how we have to use grains. हमको अनाज किस तरह से यूज करना है, बिकॉज फेमिन वॉज नियर, फेमिन था, कहत की सिचुएशन थी, और उस वक्त हमको किस तरह से हमारे अनाज को स्टोर करके रखना है, हमारे हाउ वी हैव टू यूज अवर ग्रेन्स केयरफुली. दैट पर्टिकुलर guidelines has been given on this particular plate. So by giving example, I want to tell you that this is the way how the history has been recorded. Now, from if a particular archaeologist or a historian found this particular archaeologist or historian will found this plate, what what are the different facts he will get from these plates, that this particular वो कौन से पीरियड की है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल जहाँ पे मिली है उत्तर प्रदेश में पर्टिकुलर प्लेट, दैट मीन्स वो कौन सी एरा की है, दैट मीन्स मौर्यन हैज रूल्ड उत्तर प्रदेश. ओके, दैट पर्टिकुलर प्लेट विल ऑल्सो शो द पीरियड, द रूलिंग डायनेस्टी कौन सी थी, किस तरह से उसे रूल किया. देन लैंग्वेज, उस वक्त उनकी कौन सी लैंग्वेज थी, राइट. और क्या पता चलेगा, दैट copper, if they are using copper plate for inscription, that means they know the art of copper, and they also know the art of writing, they also know the art of language. Similarly, we came to know that what are the different foods they are consuming. So all these information can be concluded from these particular plate. So I am giving you हाउ आई एम गिविंग यू द एग्जाम्पल. मैं आपको एग्जाम्पल के जरिए बता रही हूँ कि एक पर्टिकुलर प्लेट से किस तरह से डिफरेंट डिफरेंट काइंड की नॉलेज जो है हासिल की जाती है. एक पर्टिकुलर प्लेट में लिए हमको पता चला उन्होंने कौन सी फूड्स लिए हैं, कौन सी उन्होंने कौन सी गिजा वो लोग खाते थे, वो कौन सी पीरियड की थी, कौन से कॉपर्स जो है वो उनको कॉपर यूज करने आता था. दे नो द आर्ट ऑफ राइटिंग, दे नो द आर्ट ऑफ लैंग्वेज, एंड सिमिलरली दे आर इशूइंग द गाइडलाइंस टू द पीपल, किस तरह से लोगों को अनाज यूज करना है. सो दे हैव at least they have a civilized society. So all this information we get from this particular plate, और इस एक particular plate से हमको ये सारी information मिलती है. Similarly, जब excavations होते हैं children, when we got the materials from the archaeological sites, so we get different kinds of material, toys मिलते हैं, we get coins, we get mohurs, then different kinds of material, mirror, then we have statues. So those particular artifacts, those are called as artifacts. वो हमको बताते हैं कि किस तरह से हमको जो है चीजों को जो जो चीजें हमको मिली है वो डिपिक्ट करते हैं उस जमाने की हिस्ट्री। समझ आ रहा है आपको? सिमिलरली नाउ और क्या आएगा एंशियंट हिस्ट्री में? दैट वी हैव दी हड़प्पन सिविलाइजेशन टू बिगिन विद। सबसे पहले हड़प्पन सिविलाइजेशन जो है हमको मिला है, और हड़प्पन सिविलाइजेशन में जो भी मूर्तियां मिली है, टॉयज मिले हैं, ऑल दोज विल कम एज द आर्टिफैक्ट। और वो आर्टिफैक्ट्स हमको क्या बताते हैं? फॉर एग्जांपल इफ वी फाउंड full civilized society, we have found bath, bathing site has been found, toys has been found, statues has been found. So what they are showing that Harappan civilization is quite civilized society, quite urbanized society. They know the art of making house, then proper proper sanitizing system was there. Then the houses were built in the 90 cross road. If you might have studied about that, a full civil society was very civilized. The people know the art of making jewelry. They were used to wear jewelries. They know the how to cook. Then similarly, different crops were grown. For example, barley, maize, jawar, wheat. Then they were used to worship sun. All these information has been given, and how we got the information about all Harappan civilization, about the different things which we have found during the excavation. Then this is one of the source of getting information of the ancient period. Then another source is folklores. Now, uh, as as you can see in the this slide, historiography in ancient period, another source is oral tradition in Indian civilization. As you can see in the picture, children, in the ancient period in the India, memories of great deeds of ancestors and mythological lore, also memories of social transition were preserved with the help of oral recitals. Now there are there are different terms. In the ancient period in India, memories of great deeds of ancestors, one generation passed their memories to another generation in different forms, in the form of oral recital. Now, what do you mean by the word oral recital, children? That means orally, so the language, not in the written form, but we transfer our knowledge to our ancestors. As you can see in the picture, also one guru is sitting and he is teaching his students, or he is actually giving gyan to his students. That means he is passing the information, in whatever information he is passing. So again, this is one of the form of one of the important source of building history. इससे भी हमारी जो है हिस्ट्री क्या होती है, जमा होती है, और हम जो है फॉर एग्जाम्पल वी हैव भजन कीर्तन, वी हैव पोएम्स, फोकलोर्स, पुरानी पुरानी कथाएं, ये सब कुछ जो क्या है, ये क्या है, हमारा जो है ओरल रेसिपियल पे आता है, हमारी ओरल सोर्सेज में आएगा। और ये भी जो है हमने हिस्ट्री को इससे भी बहुत ज्यादा हमने क्या है बिल्ड किया। सिमिलरली चिल्ड्रन, ओरल्स में हम ये भी डालेंगे कि हम जो हमारे पोएम्स हैं, भजन कीर्तन, उसको जो हम जैसे कि जो भजन कीर्तन वगैरह है, जैसे जो संत नामदेव, संत तुकाराम, वो जो भजन गाते थे, फिर उनके उनके जो स्टूडेंट्स थे उन्होंने उन भजनों को गाया, फिर उसके बाद उनके स्टूडेंट ने उन भजन को गाया। कीर्तन का जो ट्रेडिशन है, आपने यू माइट हैव स्टडीड इन हिस्ट्री एंड इंडियन आर्ट्स में आपने पढ़ा होगा कि किस तरह से जो है लीला जो डिफरेंट ललित कला है, दीर्घ कला है, ये जो सब एक जनरेशन से दूसरी जनरेशन में पास हुए हैं, तमाशा है, किस तरह से पास होते होते आज उनके हम मॉडर्न फॉर्म्स देखते हैं। तो अगेन यू कैन लिंक दोज थिंग्स विद दी रिलेटेड विद एंशिएंट पीरियड। उस जमाने में इतना लिखने का रिवाज नहीं था, प्रिंटिंग प्रेसेस नहीं थी, तो लोग कविताओं के जरिए, भजन के जरिए, पोएम्स के जरिए वी यूज्ड टू पास our heritage to one generation to another generation. So this will come in the oral recitals, means जो जबानी जो है हम लोग जो है जो है एक जगह एक जनरेशन से दूसरी जनरेशन को जो क्या है हमारी मैथोलॉजिकल लोर्स हैं, हमारी जो भगवान की जो कथाएं हैं, हमारी गॉड की जो भी है, जो प्रेजेस जो हम करते हैं, वो सब हम जो पास करते हैं एक जगह एक से दूसरे की जगह, दैट ऑल विल इंक्लूड इन दिस। For example, I'm giving you an example from the Islam. See, we have one word called hadith. For example, that is, for example, whatever Prophet Muhammad has been taught 1400 years back, what we have, हम लोग जो है उसको क्या करते हैं, one priest to another priest, one sahabi to another sahabi, that has been passed. So we have that record. So again, this is one of the important record which we have, that this particular, on this particular topic Prophet Muhammad has said this thing. So I'm just giving you an example कि किस तरह से हमारे जो ancestors ने हमको जो बता के गए हैं, we will follow those things, and all this will come in mythological lore. Now, what do you mean by the word mythological lore, children? Mythological is something which you can relate with your religion. जब हम किसी चीज को हमारे religion से relate करते हैं, that is called as mythological lores. Now, again, this is from the Ashokan period itself. This is from the great Ashoka. Sachi, stupa of Sachi जो है ये, the inscription on the this is the Harappan inscription. The inscription of the Harappan fields and other artifacts confirm that Indians had mastered the art of writing as early as the 3rd millennium BCE, or perhaps before that. However, the Harappan script is not yet successfully deciphered. The earliest known written documents of historical nature found in India are in the form of inscriptions. They are dated to the 3rd century BCE, that is Emperor Ashoka Mauryan times. Its depicts are in natural rocks and stone pillars. Now, as you can see on the screen, these are the Harappan fields which we have found during the excavation. The full site has been excavated in the year 1920. Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Mohenjo-daro was one movie also. Okay, so you can all these seals has been discovered, and you can see on some seals that there are different animals, pictures of different animals, but the language has not been yet discovered. As you can see in Sahugura, that language has been discovered, and the meaning is also, you know, that whatever the meaning of that particular Suhagura Gaura copper plate. But here in Harappan civilization, the whatever written on the seal has not been yet been translated by the historian, but the language is totally different. They are not able to transfer it. They are not able to translate it yet. Then again, on your right hand side, you can see the picture of stupa, the stupa of Sanchi, and here you can see this particular emblem. This is emblem of 4 lions. You can see the 3 lions, and the fourth one is in at the bike side, and this you can see, this is one of the emblem of the Indian also. You can see this is the emblem of India also, Ashoka pillar, Satyameva Jayate. You might have seen all these things on your on notes and coins also. So again, this is one of the historical things, and this is also from the 3rd century BC. All these records. Then stupa of Ashoka. Again, this is one of the gate of Ashoka stupa. The great stupa at Sanchi is one of the oldest stone structure in India and an important monument of Indian architecture. It was originally commissioned by the Emperor Ashoka in the 3rd century BC. Its initialis was a simple hemispherical brick structure built over the relics of the Buddha. As you all know, Emperor Ashoka used to worship or used to follow the religion of Buddhism, and he was very impressed by the Buddhist Gautam Buddha. So he used to build stupas, and as you can see in this picture also, the picture of Buddha is given, or Gautam Buddha was given here. So again, one of the inscription here also. So on this particular stupa, there are great information about the of that particular timing. Then Buddha, how the Buddhism has spread in different parts of India. All this information you can see on that particular stupa. Now moving further, another part of ancient period, ancient historiography is this Ramayana and Mahabharata, the great 2 books which we have, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Ramayana by the ancient Indian literature, including the epic Ramayana and Mahabharata, Puranas, Jain and Buddhist texts, Historical accounts by Indian authors and also travelogue by foreign travelers are important source of history. As you all know that there are different travelogue was also available there. For example, if in a particular area or in a particular reign or in a particular emperor, for example, Emperor Ashoka is there. So any one Chinese traveler was came in his court and gathered information about his rule, and he will write particular book, or he will when he will go back to his particular country in China, we will complete that particular book. So that will be the record of the travelogue. वो क्या कहलाता है हमारा travelogue, यानी कि जो ट्रैवल के बीच में लिखा जाता है. While traveling, particular person is writing, particular foreign traveler is writing, or whatever information he is gathering, he will write those information, or he will gather those information, and that will called as travelogue. So from the travelogue, from Ramayana, from Mahabharata, these are the great source of information for our ancient history. Now in Ramayana and Mahabharata, what is given, what is given, Ramayana and Mahabharata gives information about the uh, 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 win of truth over the bad evils, right? So all this information will, Ramayana and Mahabharata will give what are the situation of that particular kingdom, Ram kingdom, and how they have fight against the cunning rule of Rama, Ravan, and then how they have written uh, tried various things to make Sita come back to their particular home. So all this information has been given in Ramayana and Mahabharata. The full series, there are different serials which you can see nowadays in of Ramayana and Mahabharata, and you can, when you see those serials, children, आप जब वो सीरियल्स देखते हो, you go in that particular era. All the people, अब जब सीरियल देखते हो तो आपको समझ में आएगा how they are wearing the costumes, what they are using as their weapons, how they are using for traveling, what kind of vehicles they are using, or what kinds of घोड़ा गाड़ी होती है, हाथी के ऊपर travel करते हैं. So from that you will gather information कि हाँ, ancient period में in the Vedic literature और in the particular Ramayana and Mahabharata, राम और सीता के टाइम पर जो है लोग इस तरह के कपड़े पहनते थे. They used to live in a houses like these. So from those information you can gather all those things. Okay, those situations, those books you can gather these kinds of information. Now, moving further, the writing of biographies of kings and dynastic historic marks an important step in Indian historiography. Biographies जो लिखी जाती हैं. For example, if a particular king is there, he is writing he orders someone to write his biography. That means how he has started his career, or how he has started ruling that particular area. What are the different war he had fought with different kingdoms, and what was the situation, or different situation whenever whatever he has faced, he used to tell to that particular person, and he will write his biography. Or as there are some kings, those who have written their own autobiography. This is difference between biographies and autobiographies. Children, biography जब हम किसी को बोलते हैं वो लिखता है, and autobiography जब खुद लिखता है. So it portrays a realistic picture of a social, economic, and political, religious, and cultural life during the king's time. And whatever person is writing those biographies, so for example, he used to, उसको ऑर्डर दिया जाता था कि वो he is going to present every day in the court. वो हर दिन कोर्ट में, हर दिन दरबार में, he will be present in दरबार every day. So whatever presiding of the darbar was there, he is witnessing all those things, and after when the day ends, he will write all those information or all those events in his particular biography. So that particular biography or that particular book will be what will be a great source of information for all these aspects of our history, that is economic. For example, he will write, for example, if a king is giving inam to his particular servant, and he is giving gold coins, many gold coin he has given, or silver coin he has given. So that means economy of that particular king is very good. That particular kingdom is very flourished, very happy, and their economy is very good. For example, if the king is having great thinking about the social event, he is witnessing a great empowerment of women, or he is giving great importance of women also. There are women which are there in the court of king. kings. So if he is witnessing all those things, what it shows? It shows that he is giving importance to women also. So it shows that he is giving equal rights to women also. If there is person in, if in the court there are women also. So these things can show information of social, economic, and political, especially religious also. What are the way of worship, how they are used to do their puja, or what are the religious ceremonies they used to perform. So he is going to witness all these things. Culture, what are the different festivals. Economy, social means समाजी वहाँ पे क्या होता था, what are the customs they have. Economy which is related with particular finance, trade, agriculture, all this will come in economy. Political, that means how he has the relation with different neighboring countries, or what are the different treaties he used to make with different kings, or in neighboring kings. All this will come in political. Then religious, what are the different ceremonies or way of worship will come in religion. And cultural, different festivals कौन कौन से वहाँ पे सेलिब्रेट होते थे. सो दीज biographies and autobiographies are the great information of social, cultural, religious, and political aspects of that particular king time. Okay, so children, I hope you might have understood what actually the ancient history will cover. Now historiography with review just in 2 minutes. Then historiography.
Hello, ma'am.
You can see in the picture here that Kalhana's Raja Tarangini, a famous work of Raja Tarangini, the style of writing Raja Tarangini, जो लिखी गई है कश्मीर के इतिहास के ऊपर उन्होंने वो लिखा है. And what the writer itself, the historian Kalhana has itself told that he has followed the writing of the writing from when we analyze all those facts. That means from the ancient monuments, then dynastic records, local tradition. He followed all those things, and when he started observing those things, after observing that particular thing, he started writing his book Raja Tarangini. Raja Tarangini is a great book on the Kashmir history. आपको पता है आप ये this book is available online also. You can study from there also. Then another famous book you can see Tuzuke, Tariq Feroz Shahi. Now, when after the reign of Alauddin Khilji, um, Babur Babur came and the Mughal empire has been started. Okay, after the battle of Panipat, Mughal empire has started. और इसके बाद से जो हमारे जो है फिर 7 to 8 ruler Mughal emperor has ruled Indian continent. So they have also written various books. Children, उन्होंने भी बहुत सारी अलग-अलग books लिखी है. Now, as you can see here, Tariq Feroz Shah, Muslim rulers were influenced by Arabic Persian historiography. Among them, Ziauddin Barani holds an important place. In Tariq Feroz Shahi, a book written by him, he has started the purpose of historiography. Tariq Feroz Shahi is a great book on the Ziauddin. It was among them Ziauddin Barani has written the Tariq Feroz Shahi. According to the historian, duty is not limited only to recording of the rulers' laws and duty and policies of welfare, but he should also write about the rulers' failing and incorrect policies. Now, at that time, ऐसा develop हो गया था कि हमको सिर्फ as a history सिर्फ हम अगर हाँ हम किसी राजा के लिए लिख रहे हैं उसके दरबार में जाके, so it is not that we have only write good things about that particular king or that particular kingdom, but we also should write the failures. What are the backdrops? What are the weakness of that particular king? उस राजा की क्या क्या गलत बातें हैं या कुछ खामियां हैं, that also we have to include in our writings. Now, according to him, the historian duty, but he also write about the failings and incorrect policies. Barani further says that a historian should also take into consideration the impact of the teaching of the wise. That means whatever he is writing in his book, it will be recorded forever. For example, अगर historian हम लिख रहे हैं, so there is no proof. History, we don't have any proof. We don't have CCTV cameras over there or the photos over there. Whatever writing, written records are the record which we have in the written form, and we we think that that particular written record is true. हम लोग ये कभी नहीं, हम लोग हाँ अभी सोचते हैं कि वो हो सकता है गलत भी लिखा होगा. We try to interpret, we try to find the facts about that, but whatever he is writing at that particular time, so that particular thing, whatever he is writing, he should write in a truth. वो जो the teaching of the wise, learn and the saints on the cultural life of people. और जो है लोगों के बारे में भी लिखना चाहिए. और उस जमाने में ट्रेडिशन था कि पहले लोग सिर्फ तो एक किंग के बारे में लिखते थे. Whatever king will be there, Babur will be there, Akbar will be there, Shah Jahan will be there. They will write about that them only. So Barni emphasized that we should write about the people also, about the society also we should write. Thus Barni explained, expanded the scope of history, historiography. Okay, and Barni, that means we should not only stick to the cake, but we should go in a wider sense and we should write about the society, how the society is there, how the people are there, what are their religious values, what are their cultural values. So we have to cover all these things also. Here in this particular slide, you can see some of those pictures. Tuzuke Babri, written by Babur. This is the Babur autobiography. उन्होंने खुद लिखी है ये. Then Babur wrote an autobiography entitled Tuzuke Babri. It contains the description of battles fought by him. Babur also recorded his minute observation of various regions and cities traveled by him, including a local economy, customs, and flora. Then Babur in Tuzuke Babri, as I have told you, whatever he has written, उसने क्या क्या लिखा है, minute information लिखी है about different kingdoms, cities, all those. Then next is Akbarnama by Abu Fazl. It is written on the reign of Akbar, again the Mughal emperor. Abul Fazl Akbarnama is very important from the viewpoint of critical historiography. His method of collecting authentic historical document and her scrutiny is looked upon as a devoid of bias and hence realistic. That means whatever he has written, Abul Fazl is a great work of Akbarnama is a great work of Abu Fazl, or उसको हम जो है क्रिटिकल लिखा है उसने कि हम उसको मान सकते हैं कि उसने जो भी लिखा है वो जो क्या है इट इज नियर टू द ट्रुथ. देन इट व्हेन अगेन मिडिवल इंडिया का एक इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट है हमारा मराठा एम्पायर विथ रिलेटेड टू महाराष्ट्र. The great Shivaji Maharaj has ruled मराठा और महाराष्ट्र, और उन्होंने जो है उनके भी जो है हिस्ट्री को जो है बहुत सारे जो है बुक्स उस पे लिखी गई है, एंड दैट पर्टिकुलर बुक इज कॉल्ड एज चिल्ड्रन बखर. वॉट एवर मराठा हिस्ट्री, फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन मुगल यू माइट हैव सीन अकबर नामा, राइट, बाबर नामा was there. So similarly in Maharashtra, when we are talking about Maratha history, it will be Bakhar. So there are different Bakhar which has been written by different historians. Now that you will study here, you can see in the picture also. Then Bahu Sahibchi Bakhar and Kaifiyat. Okay. Now his method of collecting authentic historical documents and other experience is upon as devoid of bias, hence realistic. Now, Sabhasad Bakar was written by Krishnaji Anand Sabhasad during the reign of Chhatrapati Rajaram Maharaj. Now, Sabhasad Bakar, किसने लिखी है वो? It is during the reign of. It is written by Krishnaji Anand, and it is in the reign of Chhatrapati Rajaram Maharaj. It is an important Bakar for getting information about the rule of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Then Bahu Sapchi Bakar described the battle of Panipat. Okay, and there was a battle between Panipat and Ahmad Shah Abdali. You might have known this. Panipat was the movie which is recently released, I think this year or maybe last year. So again, so if for example I'm telling you children, I'm just giving an example that if Panipat movie has to be made, from where they will get the information? From these kinds of sources, from Bakars. They will read Bhau Sahib Bakar, or they will get full information about the Panipat battle, right? Then Holkaransi Kaifiyat, as you can see in this picture, Holkaransi Kaifiyat provide information about the Holkars and their contribution to Maratha rules. So, children, as you can see, Bakars are the great source of information. Then Bakars are giving information about the that particular social, cultural, and economic aspects of that particular Shivaji Maharaj reign. Similarly, there are autobiographies, there are letters, there are different letters which are dispatched by one king to another king or one sources to another sources. All these are also included in the Maratha history. और ये सब भी जो है हमारी जो है हिस्ट्री के लिए जो क्या है वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट है. Now, by this we are coming to the last part of our lecture, that is evaluation. Now, children, I'm asking you some questions and you can give me the answer. Raja Tarangini, the history of Kashmir by dash. Who has written this? Those who know the answer.
मैम इसका है खलाना.
Okay.
The history of Khalana.
Kalhana. The Raja Tarangini
Yes,
has been written by Kalhana. Okay, very good. Okay, now next question is Abul Fazl written the famous work dash. It is written in the Mughal period, and who has written this?
Akbarnama.
Very nice. Akbarnama has been written. अकबरनामा हैज बीन रिटन बाय अबुल फजल, और माना जाता है कि ये काफी ऑथेंटिक है और बहुत सही तरीके से ये लिखा गया है चिल्ड्रन. नाउ इन एंशिएंट इंडिया व्हिच ट्रेजेडी वर यूज्ड टू प्रिजर्व मेमोरीज? एनीबॉडी?
मैम इसमें जैसे महाभारत रामायण इज ये प्रीवियस मेमोरीज in which traditions of history, ancient history?
In the ancient history, yes, these are again there is Harsha Charitra by Banadutt, Meghdut by Vishaka Dutt. Then again we have Harappan civilization की जो हमारी जो artifact है, all these will come under the memories. Now,
yes,
write information about and writing of Harappan civilization.
Harappan seals minimum BC, third minimum BC, millennium BCE. Harappan script.
But it is not deciphered. उसको अभी तक translate. They were not able.
Ma'am.
Last two questions are there for your homework purpose, and you can complete those questions at your home. Okay. Thanks for joining the lecture. Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am.
Good morning, students. Myself, Rohit Kulkarni. Once again, I welcome you for this session. Today we are going to say Science Part 1. Our topic name is Chemical Reaction and Equation. Right? So all students can open their textbook, page number 30. So we'll begin our lesson. So lesson number 3, chemical reactions and equations. Now, if you see on page number 30, some of the part which is cancelled, right? Above that, whatever the part is given. So straight away, we are going to start from the activity. That note is given. Do the following activities in a group of friends and take help from there. We are going to start. So I will begin my lecture. So all of you pay attention. Now see what is the apparatus. Thermometer, evaporating dish, tripod stand, funnel, Bunsen burner, etc. Right? So in the slide, you can see all the things: thermometer, evaporating dish, stand, funnel, and Bunsen burner. Now the chemicals used are copper sulfate solution, calcium chloride solution, potassium chromate solution, barium sulfate solution, sodium carbonate solution, limestone powder, zinc dust, naphthalic anhydride. Right? Now by using all these solutions, we are going to carry some of the activities. Now on page number 31, if you see, total 5 activities are given, and below that one chart is given, so that we are going to complete by carrying one by one activity. So we'll see the first activity now. Now see what is the first activity. Take a spoonful of limestone powder in an evaporating dish. Heat it strongly on a high blue flame. Right? So what we are going to take, we are going to take some limestone powder in an evaporating dish, and we are going to heat it. So you can see in the figure, on evaporating dish, some lime powder is taken, that is calcium carbonate, and it is been heated. Now after heating, what we are going to see, that we have to see, right? So what do you observe after heating? So what we can say, calcium carbonate on heating, it turns into calcium oxide and we get carbon dioxide gas, right? So you can see the equation CaCO3, that is calcium carbonate. On heating, what do we get? We get calcium oxide, that is CaO, plus carbon dioxide, CO2. Now, here After completing first activity, you can see the box which is given. So that box you are going to complete. Now, what is the first one? Color change. So after doing this activity, what we are going to get in the first one, that color change is present. So there is no any color change, right? Then temperature change. Yes. So after heating, what is going to happen? The temperature is going to change. And the next one is what? Gas released. Yes, the gas is also released. And so which type of change it is? It is a chemical change. So in the last box, we are going to mention which is what is whether it is a physical change or whether it is a chemical change. So we can say what we can say that it is a chemical change. So this is the first activity. Clear? So hope so all of you understood. Now we'll move on the second activity. First, I will read that. Now we'll see what is the second activity. Add zinc dust into a copper sulfate solution. So zinc means Zn and copper sulfate solution is CuSO4. So all of you have to buy these all the chemical formulas. So what happens? We'll go through that. Now you can see in the figure the copper sulfate solution. The color of copper sulfate solution is blue color, right? You can see the test tube. Now what we are going to do, we are going to take zinc powder, right? So this is zinc dust, that is zinc powder. We are going to take in the test tube. So now whatever test tube you see, it is a mixture of zinc powder and copper sulfate solution. Now after the reaction takes place, right? Now you can see the change in the test tube. Earlier it was a bluish color. Now you can see the precipitate or some changes you can see. Now what happens when copper sulfate solution is mixed with zinc powder? What do we get? We get zinc sulfate and copper, right? So formula for zinc sulfate is ZnSO4 and copper. Now this is also what, this is also an example of a chemical change. So through this activity, what we are looking what is the meaning of chemical change and what is the meaning of physical change. So after doing the second activity, what we understood, when copper sulfate is mixed in zinc powder, right? What do we get? We get zinc sulfate solution, and along with that we get the copper particle. So this is also an example of what? Example of chemical change. Now, after doing this activity, three things, as we have seen for the first activity, the same thing we are going to see. Now, whether the color changes, yes, the color changes in this activity. Initial, the color is blue. Now, after completing this activity, what we say it is a colorless solution. So color changes. Yes, temperature also changes, and the gas released is no. So you can mark in the textbook, right? In the second activity, color change, yes. Temperature change, yes, and gas released is no. And what is the nature of change? Whether it is a chemical change, right? So this is the second activity. Now we'll move on the third activity. So what is the third activity? Add potassium chromate solution to barium sulfate solution. So formula for potassium chromate is K2CrO4. And what is the formula for barium sulfate? That is BaSO4. Right? So we'll move on the activity. Now, in front of you, there is the one slide, right? In test tube, what is taken? The barium sulfate solution, and with the help of dropper, what we are going to add? We are going to add potassium chromate. So in test tube, both the solutions are added, right? So you can see in the test tube that both the solutions are added. Now see, after doing this activity, means when both the solutions are added, that is potassium chromate and barium sulfate, what do we see? We see a yellow colored solid substance is formed. So we call it as a precipitate, right? So what is formed? Yellow colored solid substance is formed. When it is formed, when potassium chromate and barium sulfate solution are added. Now after this, what we are going to see, what happens when they react, what solution we get. So when barium sulfate solution is added or it is mixed with potassium chromate, the barium chromate and potassium sulfate is formed. So what is the formula for barium sulfate? BaSO4, potassium chromate K2CrO4, and barium chromate is BaCrO4, and potassium sulfate means K2SO4, right? So these are the chemical formulas. So you have to buy this. So this is about the third activity, that what happens when potassium chromate solution is mixed with the barium sulfate solution. So when potassium chromate solution is mixed with the barium sulfate solution, we get, what do we get? We get barium chromate and potassium sulfate. Now after completing this activity, we are going to see what happens, whether the color changes, whether the gas released or not. Now, color change, yes, there is a change in the color, right? What color do we get? We get the yellow color. So that is precipitate is formed. So is there a change in the temperature? Yes, there is a change in the temperature. Whether there is any gas released? No, there is no any gas released. And this is also an example of what? This is also an example of chemical change. Clear? Then we'll move on the fourth activity. So what is the fourth activity? Add sodium carbonate, that is Na2CO3 solution, to the calcium chloride, that is CaCl2 solution. So this is the fourth activity. Now see what happens. Now in slide you can see there is a solution of calcium chloride solution, right? And along with that we can see the sodium carbonate solution also. So you can see in the slide both the solutions are there. One is calcium chloride solution and the sodium carbonate solution. So what is going to happen after mixing both those solutions? We are going to get white colored precipitate, as we have seen in the activity third, right? In the activity third, what we have seen, when potassium chromate and barium sulfate is added, we get the yellow colored precipitate. Now in the activity 4, when we are adding sodium carbonate and calcium chloride together, what we get? We get the white colored precipitate. So we'll go through the reaction. Now see what is the reaction. When calcium chloride solution is added or is mixed with sodium carbonate, we get calcium carbonate and sodium chloride, right? So when calcium chloride and sodium carbonate solutions are mixed together, what is the product we get? We get calcium carbonate and NaCl, that is sodium chloride. Now we are going to mark the what are the things changes. Now whether there is a change in this in the color, yes, you can see the change in the color. We get the yellow white precipitate is formed. Then is there any change in temperature? Yes, there is a change in temperature. Gas released? No, there is no gas released. And what is the nature of changes? Whether it is a chemical change or physical change, it is a chemical change, right? So this is about fourth activity. Now we'll move on the fifth activity, right? So what is the fifth activity? Take aphthalic anhydride in the evaporating dish. Right now, we'll move on the next activity, aphthalic hydride. Now, all of you can observe in the slide that on the left hand side, there is a powder that is aphthalic hydride. Now, that what we are going to do, we are going to take in the evaporating dish and we are going to heat it. So, on the right hand side, you can see it is heated. Now, before heating, what we are going to do, close the end of the steam of a funnel with a cotton plug. So in the right hand side, you can see there is one funnel, and the end of the funnel, it is it is fixed with the cotton. So there the air should not move. So keep this funnel inverted on the evaporating dish. So that funnel we are going to keep inverted in the evaporating dish. Now after completing this, what we are going to do, you are going to heat that. So heat the evaporating dish on the tripod stand slowly on the low flame. So you are going to heat it slowly. So what do you observe? Now what we observe after completing this activity, that we will see. Now see, after completing this activity, means when aphthalic anhydride, it is heated on the evaporating dish with a low flame by covering, we will see the vapors of aphthalic anhydride. So what we'll see, vapors, and also after removing that funnel, we will see the white crystals, right? So on the right hand side, you can observe that what we'll see the white crystals, and along with that, we can see the vapors of aphthalic anhydride. Now this is a physical change, right? Now this is an example of what? This is an example of physical change. Whatever 4 activities we have seen up to now, these all are examples of chemical change. And what is the 5th activity? It is an example of physical change. So you can see in the figure, first what we have done, we have taken solid aphthalic anhydride, right? So it is taken in the evaporating dish, and whatever the funnel is there, it is kept inverted. So after heating, what you get gases, aphthalic anhydride, that is vapor, and even the solid aphthalic, that is white crystal, when it is cooled. Now, what are the things we are going to see in the box? So there is a change in color. No, there is no change in the color. There is change in temperature. No, there is change in temperature. And gas released also? No. So from this, what we can say, that this is an example of what? Physical change, right? So record the observation of all the activities, and what do you find? Now all of you just observe the table, observation table, right? So once again, whatever the 5 activities we have carried, we'll go through that. So in the first activity, right, in the first activity, what we have seen, that we have taken limestone, that is calcium carbonate, and what we got? Calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. So in that, there is no change in the color, there is change in temperature, and there is change in the gas release. So from that, what we can say, the first one, it is an example of chemical change. Clear? Then second one. What is the second activity? Add zinc dust into a copper sulfate solution. So after doing that activity, what we get zinc sulfate and copper. So you can see the reaction in the second, that is the second one, CuSO4 plus Zn. What is the product? What product we got? ZnSO4 plus Cu. So yes, there is change in color, there is change in temperature, but there is no gas released. So this is also an example of what? Example of chemical change. Then we have seen the third activity, that is of potassium chromate solution and barium sulfate. So what is that? We'll go through the reaction first. So when barium sulfate solution and potassium chromate solution both are mixed, so what do we get? We get barium chromate and potassium sulfate, right? So you can see the reaction which is given in the third one. And now, what are the conclusions we have seen? There is a change in color, there is change in temperature, but there is no gas released. And from this, what we can say, yes, this is also an example of what? Example of chemical change. And after that, we have seen the fourth activity, that is add sodium carbonate solution to the calcium chloride solution. So after completing doing that activity, what product do we get? We get calcium carbonate and NaCl, that is sodium chloride. So after doing that activity, what is the inference do we get? Yes, there is change in color, change in temperature, and the gas released is no. So this is also what? This is also an example of chemical change. And the last activity, what we have seen, that is aphthalic anhydride when it is heated in the evaporating dish. The aphthalic anhydride, when it is heated in the evaporating dish, there is no change in the color, no gas released, and even there is no change in the temperature. And what we can say, yes, that is an example of what? That is an example of physical change. So if you have opened your textbooks, or you can mark in the textbook, whatever the slide it is there in front of you, you can mark in the textbook as it, right? So here we have completed the first activity, that is physical change and chemical change. So after completing this activity, what we are going to see, what is the meaning of physical change and what is the meaning of chemical change, right? So page number 31, second last paragraph. Now see, physical change takes place due to change in the parameter such as temperature, pressure, right? As we have seen in the above activities, if in some of the activities there is change in temperature and change in the pressure, means gas, even change in color. So from that we can say that is a, right? Often a physical change is also reversible. The composition of matter remains the same in the physical change. So what is given? The composition of matter remains the same in the physical change. For example, ice is transformed into water on heating and water is transformed into ice on cooling. So what we can say now, in front of you on the left hand side, there you can see the ice is there in the beaker. So when it is heated, what we can going to see, that ice will convert into water. And after some time, when that beaker is kept aside, right, or when it is cooled, again the same water can be converted into ice. So this is what? This is reversible change. Means ice can be converted into water, and water on cooling, again it can be converted into ice. So this is an example of what? This is an example of physical changes. On the contrary, if the composition of matter changes during a process, then it is called a chemical change. So remember that if the composition of matter changes, right, during the reaction or during the change, then it is called as what? It is called as chemical change. When we call a particular process or phenomenon as a chemical change, some chemical reactions are taking place in the concerned matter. So whenever we say there is a chemical change, so what happens? There are some chemical reactions takes place. So as we have seen in the above activities, for activities that there is some change, right? So chemical reactions have taken place. So that are what? That are examples of chemical changes. So we'll see one example for that. Now, if you see, right, one example is given. That is iron plus sulfur. That is when iron filings and sulfur, when both are added together, what do we get? We get iron sulfide. So this is what? This is an example of chemical changes, right? So that is why it is what is given. If the composition of matter changes during a process, it is called as what? It is called as chemical change. So one example is given, Fe plus S, that is iron plus sulfur. What do we get? We get iron sulfur. Now one more example we will see, and then we'll move on the next point. Now see a chemical reaction, open page number 31. A chemical reaction is a process in which substances undergo bond breaking and are transformed into new substances by formation of new bonds. Now see in front of you one example is given, that is HCl plus NaOH, that is hydrochloric acid plus sodium hydroxide. When both are mixed together, what do we get? We get NaCl, that is sodium chloride, salt plus water. Now whatever it is there on the left hand side, they are reactant, and what is there on the right hand side, they are all called as what? They are called as product. Now the chemical so the substances taking part in chemical reactions are called as reactant. So on the left hand side, whatever the substances are there, means HCl and NaOH, they are called as what? They are called as reactant. What is the definition of reactant? The substances taking part in a chemical reaction are called as what? Are they called as reactant? So remember the definition of reactant: the substances taking part in chemical reaction are called reactant. Whereas the substances formed as a result of chemical reaction by formation of new bonds are called as products. So what is products? Whatever the substances are formed after the chemical reaction, right? So they are called as what? They are called as products, and the new bonds are formed. So in the reaction here, HCl and NaOH are reactants, and NaCl and H2O are what? They are the products. Clear? So this is one example. Now one more example we'll see. For example, formation of carbon dioxide gas by combustion of coal in air is also a chemical reaction. Now, formation of carbon dioxide gas by combustion of coal. Coal means carbon, that is C, plus O2, right? So what do we get after heating? We get carbon dioxide. So this is also what? This is also an example of chemical reaction. In this reaction, coal means carbon and oxygen from air are the reactant, right? So you can see in the slide, the coal, that is carbon and oxygen, both are reactant, which are present on the left hand side. So they are what? They are the reactants, means which are taking part in a chemical reaction. And what is the product formed here? The product formed here, it is a carbon dioxide. So chemical reaction is represented by writing a chemical equation. Now the same chemical reaction, right? What we are going to see, how it is represented by writing a chemical equation. Right? Hope so all of you understood up to here. So we'll move on the next point now, that is chemical equation. Now see what is the solutions we are going to take. Zinc sulfate and copper sulfate solution and zinc powder. So that solutions we are going to take. On page number 32, right? We can see the activity. When zinc powder and copper sulfate solution both are added together, what do we get? We get the solution of zinc sulfate and copper. So the chemical reactions can be written as follows. Now see, chemical change can be described in a more precise and concise manner in one line. It is not necessary to describe the chemical reaction in a detailed manner. So it is not necessary that whatever the chemical reactions we are going to write, right? So that is not necessary to that it should be shown in the detailed manner. We can, by using chemical formulas, you can show it. So that we are going to see now, right? Both, that is how it can be shown by using a chemical equation and how it is shown by using the word equation. Now see here, what is the word equation? Aqueous solution of copper sulfate plus zinc, right? So these are what? They are the reactants. Now after doing this activity, or when both the reacts together, what do we get? We get the aqueous solution of zinc sulfate and copper. So this is what? This is word equation, right? This is what? This is word equation. So this simple way of representing a chemical reaction in words, it is called as what? It is called as word equation. So this word equation can be represented in the form of chemical equation also. So that we are going to see. A word equation can be written in a further condensed form by using chemical formula as follows, right? So the same thing can be written by using chemical formula. So what is the formula for copper sulfate? The formula for copper sulfate is CuSO4 plus. Formula for zinc is Zn. So these are reactant, and when the reaction takes place, what product we get? ZnSO4, that is zinc sulfate, and copper, that is Cu. Now The representation of chemical reaction in a condensed form using chemical formula is called as what? It is called as chemical equation. So the above one, right, that is a word equation, and the below, which is shown with the help of chemical formulas, so it is called as what? It is called as chemical equation. So what is the definition of that? The representation of a chemical reaction in a condensed form using chemical formula is called as what? It is called as chemical equation. So remember the difference, right? What is the difference between the word equation and what is the difference between the chemical equation? So word equation, it can be written straight away by writing the names, but when you're writing the chemical equation, you should know the formulas, chemical formulas of that, and then only it can be written. So that is why you should know all the chemical. Some of the copper sulfate, that is CuSO4, and zinc are the reactant. So what we have seen, sulfate and zinc, they are what? They are the reactant. And whatever zinc sulfate, they are what? They are the products. So they react with each other to form copper particles and a solution of colorless zinc sulfate. So whatever the zinc sulfate solution is formed here, it is what? It is a colorless solution, right? So solution copper sulfate is used. When it is added with the zinc, whatever the zinc sulfate do we get? It is what? It is a colorless solution as a product having totally different properties. So you can see in that equation, whatever the reactants are there, the ionic bond in the reactant breaks, right? So what happens? Whatever the bond is there in the reactant, it breaks when the reaction carried out. And what is the product form? Zinc sulfate and copper. So ionic bond in the product is formed. So here what happens? The bond is formed between them. So the ionic bond in the reactant CuSO4, that is copper sulfate, breaks, and the ionic bond in the product, that is ZnSO4, it formed during the reaction, right? So this is about what? This is about chemical change, right? Or what we can say, chemical reactions or chemical equation, right? So all students, hope so it is understood. Once again, I will repeat the activities. We'll see one table, and right. So see what is the first activity. Once again, we'll go on the same page, page number 30. So the first activity of take a spoonful of lime water powder in an evaporating dish and heat it strongly on the high blue flame. So after heating that, what we have seen? We have seen change in the color, right? Then we have seen there is gas is released and there is a change in temperature. So nature of the change is what it is? Chemical change. So what is the reaction? So CaCO3, it is in S solid form. Then what do we get? We get CaO, that is calcium oxide, and carbon dioxide gas. The next one is second activity. What we have seen about zinc dust. What happens when copper sulfate solution and zinc dust are added together? So when copper sulfate solution and zinc both are added together, what do we get? We get zinc sulfate and copper, right? So CuSO4 means copper sulfate, Zn zinc, ZnSO4 means zinc sulfate, and again Cu means copper. So after completing this activity, what we have seen there is change in the color, there is change in the temperature, and the gas released is no. So this is also what? This is also an example of chemical change. The next one, third activity we have seen about potassium chromate and barium sulfate. So what happens when potassium chromate solution and barium sulfate solution both are mixed together? So barium sulfate means BaSO4 and potassium chromate means CrO4. So both are mixed together. What do we get? BaCrO4, that is barium chromate, and even what do we get? We get potassium sulfate. So after this activity, what we have seen the change, right? And there's no gas released. So these are the first three activities. Then fourth about and calcium chloride solution happens when carbonate and calcium chloride solution both are mixed. And sodium carbonate NaCO3 and calcium chloride CaCO when both react, what do we get? We get white precipitate. So that white precipitate means CaCO, that is calcium carbonate and sodium chloride is formed. So what we have seen after completing this activity, there is change the and there is no acid released. Right. So that's four activities we have seen. And the last activity we have seen about phthalic anhydride when it is head in the urine. In that activity we have seen, we will take some powder of phthalic anhydride in the urine and we will heat. Right. What we have to do, you have to take hello. 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 With the water plug and keep it inverted to heat it. So after heating, what we'll see that there are some white crystals and water vapors are formed on cooling. Right? So after doing that reaction, what we release. From this activity only, what we have seen, what is the difference in chemical change. Composition change. For them, we have both are together. What the iron the changes during process, it is called as chemical change. The iron fine and sulfur both are we get iron sulfide. After this, what is the meaning of reactant and what is the product? The meaning of reactant. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Dish, what do we get? We get the iron sulfide. And from this activity, what we can say, what is the meaning of reactant and what are the meaning of products? So the substances taking part in a chemical reaction are called as what? They are called as reactant. And whereas the substances formed as a resultant of a chemical reaction by formation of a new bonds are called as what? They are called as products. So in the activity, you can see which are the reactants, which are on the right and left hand side, that is HCl, hydrochloric acid, and sodium hydroxide. They are the reactant. And which are the products? That is sodium chloride and water. They are what? They are the products. Right. So remember that what is the definitions of reactant? So the substances taking part in a chemical reactions are called as reactant. Once again, I am repeating. The substances taking part in a chemical reaction are called reactants. And what is the product? The substances formed as a result of chemical reaction by formation of new bonds are called as what? They are called as product. So this is an example. So one more example we'll see of chemical reaction. Now see, the formation of carbon dioxide gas by combustion of coal in air is also an example of what is a chemical reaction. In this reaction, coal, that is carbon, and oxygen from air are the reactants. So in this reaction, right, you can see coal, that is carbon, and oxygen, they are what? Reactant, and the product is what? It is carbon dioxide. And the reactants, while carbon dioxide is a product. And the chemical reaction is represented by writing a chemical equation. Right, so we have seen what are the different equations. So here we can see 2 points, that is, one is word equation and second one is chemical equation. So word equation means what? Straight away we can write with the spellings. That is, one example is given, aqueous solution of copper sulfate, zinc. So what is the product formed? Zinc sulfate, aqueous solution of zinc sulfate and copper. So this is what? This is word equation. So we have seen the definition. The simple way of representing a chemical reaction in words is called as what? It is called as word equation. Right, and the same word equation can be written in the condensed form by using the chemical formula. So that is why you should learn all the formulas. So right, so that is CuSO4 plus Zn, and what is from zinc sulfate and copper. And last one, what we have seen the how the ionic bonds are break in the reactant and how the ionic bonds are formed in the product, that we have seen. That for that the example is copper sulfate and zinc, and last one is the product formed, it is zinc sulfate and copper. Right, so here we have completed today's part. So all should know what are the 5 activities what we have taken, then what are the conclusions we have seen after doing that activity, what is the meaning of chemical change, physical change, and what is the meaning of reactant, product, and different examples we have seen. After that, we have seen what is the chemical equation in form, that is in word form as well as in the reaction. Right, so I hope so all the students have understood. So we'll move on the evaluation part. So those are, so students, my first question is what define reactants. So if any students, they can know, those who know, they can raise your hands and they can answer it. What define reactants? Hello? Hello, ma'am. Hello?
So can I
Hello? You can speak. First one, define reactants.
say
Define reactants.
the substance
Only
taken in chemical reaction is called a reactant.
Okay, very good. Right. So what is the definition of reactant? The substances taking part in a chemical reaction are called as what? Are called as reactants. Now, the second question, define products.
The substance formed as a result of a chemical reaction by formation of new bonds are called products.
Product. Right. Very good. So what is the definition of product? The substances formed as a result of a chemical reaction by formation of a new bonds. They are called as what? They are called as products. Right. So in so many examples we have seen in that which are the reactants and which are the products, you should able to differentiate that. The next one is what is the chemical formula for potassium chromate? Right, as I told you, you should know the chemical formulas of all. So what is the formula for potassium chromate?
K2CrO4.
Right, so the formula for potassium chromate is K2CrO4. Right, so learn all the formulas. The next one is what is the chemical formula for sodium carbonate?
Na2CO3.
Only one student is answering maybe, right? So the formula for sodium carbonate is Na2CO3. Right, along with once we'll see one more question, that what is the chemical formula for copper sulfate. So what is the what is the formula for copper sulfate?
CuSO4.
CuSO4, right? And one more last one is that the formula for calcium chloride.
CaCO3.
CaCl twice, right? CaCl2, that is formula for calcium chloride, right? So here we have completed today's session, right? So hope so all of students have understood what is the meaning of physical change, what is the meaning of chemical change, then what are the different activities we have carried out. Clear? And after completing this session, once all students go through all the pages, that is page number 30 and 31. Clear? Tomorrow we'll see the next part, that is how to write a chemical equation, right? So any students have any doubts? Otherwise we'll wind up our session. Hello ma'am. Hello ma'am.
Yes, sir.
It's ma'am, I completed my session. Hello.
Student have any problem? Any doubts? Sakshi, Shivani? No doubt, no? Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, students. Thank you.